What's up, everybody? I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2021 Chevy Trailblazer. So the Trailblazer is new for 2021 here. It's a subcompact crossover, not the large Trailblazers you had back in the day, but it's a pretty nice little thing. So the exterior styling, I think, looks really cool, and you can go watch the driving review for more of my thoughts on that. But the interior here is interesting. I think, you know, it has some parts that are a little bit more exciting, and there's other parts that it's just like copy and paste Chevy kind of stuff a little bit.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of different textures and tones and everything. You have your stitching here, you have your plastic, and you have this very interesting, I think it's kind of like denim looking fabric on the doors, but that's the only place that it is.
Yeah, so it's kind of strange. You do have a little bit on the side bolster here too, but that's it. But then yeah, you have this like bronze plastic, so there's all kinds of little things in here.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah, so, but anyway, first thing, sitting down in the seats here in the Trailblazer, they're good seats. They're pretty comfortable, not too firm, and some GM seats usually are a little firm. These seem a little bit softer and seem pretty comfortable to me. You also have power adjustments here on the driver's side with a power lumbar, which is nice to have that.
But on the passenger side, it is kind of a doozy because it is all manual and you cannot adjust the height on the seat, and I feel like I'm sitting up too high. And I guess it's just a thing nowadays to just have all of these seats be at the height of your hips so you could just sit right into the car instead of step up or bend down, which is great for older folks, but for someone who is not old yet, like, I just don't like it. I feel like I'm sitting up too high, and I'm 5'5", and the ceiling seems pretty close.
Yeah, and I mean, if they want to give you a really high seating position, at least give you a manual crank to crank the seat down, to at least give people the option, at least for taller people.
Yeah.
It's not even a matter of preference, it's a matter of like, do you fit if you're a tall person in the passenger seat, because the seats are just up so high. And although this is a boxy vehicle, it's not really that much headroom, especially in the back seat, because you're sitting up even higher in the back. I only have like 2 inches of headroom there in the back, so it can get tight, even though this is an SUV. But anyway, the seats are heated, so that's a nice feature to have. There's no cooled seats or anything, but most subcompact crossovers don't give you that. Only I think Hyundai and Kia offer that these days. But anyway, so good seats. The steering wheel is also pretty good here. Now in the Activ trim, what we're in right now, it's a round steering wheel. You can actually get a flat bottom steering wheel in the ERS version, which is kind of cool. But anyway, this has a good 9.3 grip, nice little 10.2 notches. You have some kind of metal feeling trim here, but I believe it's just plastic. But it does look pretty expensive feeling here on the wheel for, you know, subcompact crossover again. Just a few buttons here on it, and overall pretty good steering wheel. The gauges are pretty basic Chevy gauges, the same thing you'd see in an Equinox or a Cruze or a Trax or anything like that. I do wish that with the sportier look of the Trailblazer that they would kind of jazz up the gauges a little bit. Unfortunately, that's not the case. They're just, you know, normal parts bin GM gauges, but there's nothing wrong with that. You know, clear, simple dials. You have a nice large digital portion there in the middle that, you know, has all your various readouts and very clear, easy to use, high resolution, and so I have no complaints with it. You know, it's about par for the course for this segment of vehicle, and so good there. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here, the one big standout feature is you have this 8-inch touchscreen Chevrolet MyLink system, and so in these lower trims you do get a 7-inch screen, but you still do have a touchscreen with smartphone integration even on a base trim, which is great. But the nice thing here when you upgrade to this 8-inch screen is that you actually, with the technology package that this one has, you get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and this is the only vehicle in this segment that gives you wireless smartphone integration, and that's really nice. To not have to plug your phone in every time you want to use CarPlay is really handy, and could even be enough justification to get this just for that feature alone, since none of the others have it right now.
And it's crazy how fast it works. I was inside the car, he was outside of the car was already on, and the screen immediately turned to Apple CarPlay. So it is very crazy how fast it is. So I just think it's a really cool feature.
Yeah, it works really well, and yeah, it's just nice to be able to text and stuff through there and not have to plug your phone in every time. But anyway, aside from that, it's just very easy to go through all the other normal menus here in the Chevy system, and it's very simple. Now, there isn't a tune knob here in this this in this model. So some of the other Chevy models do have a tune knob with this screen, but this one doesn't. So you just have a volume knob and then your rockers here. But the on-screen controls for the audio are easy enough to scroll through radio stations, so not a big deal there. This one also does have the upgraded Bose stereo system, and so that basically in a base Trailblazer you get 4 speakers, and the higher versions you get 6 speakers, and then if you pay extra for this Bose system you get 7 speakers. So still not a ton of speakers even with the upgraded Bose system. It sounded good. I don't have any complaints with it. It's not going to knock my socks off, but it was decent, and if you enjoy, you know, high quality audio, it's probably worth the upgrade, even though it is only 1 extra speaker. But nice they give you the option for an upgrade. And so anyway, coming down you have just your climate controls here, and this is one of the spots where this feels a little cheap because I can actually wiggle these knobs, and that's just not great.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, we're talking about a vehicle that starts at $20,000, and this one as tested is $32,000. At $20,000, that's acceptable. At $32,000,
definitely not at 32.
Yeah, and that's one of the areas where, you know, there's a lot of spots in this interior, if you look, where it feels a little cheaper. This armrest here on the doors is just straight up like plastic. It's padded. It's not like hard or scratchy or anything, but it's just kind of cheap feeling. This armrest in the middle here is also padded, but it's also cheap feeling.
And it's also really high. What's up with, like, whatever. I don't know.
You're sitting up high, but this is even higher. It's
yeah,
like,
so like, what am I trying to do? Like, hey, man, here I go.
Yeah, it's like you need to be a giant who's not too tall to be comfortable in this vehicle. It's interesting. But as far as the materials and stuff go, you know, it's just, at $32,000 for this one, it's tough to justify, because the Mazda CX-30 that we just reviewed a few weeks ago, that has real metal knobs. I mean, everything has a nice feeling to it. The stereo in that's fantastic. Everything's covered in leather. That thing feels like a Lexus with the Mazda CX-30, and this feels like it's definitely not worth the $32,000 price tag, at least to me. We did have our friend who sat in here, and he thought it was worth a $30,000 price tag to him. He thought it looked nice, but I personally just, I don't know. So maybe it's a subjective thing, but if you sit down in here, I just feel like there's definitely more cheap stuff than you get in a Mazda, or even a Hyundai or Kia, honestly, in my opinion. I think have a little bit of a higher quality feeling in a lot of areas. Anyway, moving on to storage space here in the Trailblazer. It's pretty good for a vehicle of this segment. So you have pretty large pockets here in the doors with a bottle holder. In the middle here, you have this cool little wireless charging pad area. And I do like how you have this little like plastic mesh here to let in a little bit of light. And just kind of a cool little design feature, make it feel a little more rugged and unique in here. In addition to the wireless charging pad, you also will see a USB jack, USB-C jack, auxiliary jack, and a power outlet, plus an SD card slot there. So all kinds of hookups. They did a fantastic job with that, and so great to have all those there. And then you have your 2 cup holders, as well as a little slot for maybe like a small phone, but it's not a very large slot there. So like our iPhone 11s don't fit in there, you know, smoothly. But what we actually found it was really handy for was holding our hand sanitizer case. That fits in here great in the age of COVID we're in. Very handy to have a hand sanitizer holder.
Yes.
But yeah, good cup holders there. And then behind the cup holders, you also have this additional little bin, which is a really nice bonus space. It's a good size, and you could also fit your phone in there if it doesn't fit up front here. And so great to have that. And then you do have the center armrest, and then you open that up. And the funny thing is you have this removable tray, but you can't fit like a glasses case in there, and it's not really big enough to even fit a phone most of the time. So I just ended up dropping that into this massive bin and just not using the top tray. But you see it's a good amount of space and goes pretty deep down in there. But, you know, so just keep in mind this little top tray might be useless if you have larger items. But, you know, it's a good amount of space in there. And for, again, a subcompact crossover, this is towards the top of the pack as far as amount of cargo space you have in here. So good job there. The backseat space here in the Trailblazer is also really good. So it's a little bit more spacious than some of the competitors, especially some of these smaller competitors like Hyundai Venue, Nissan Kicks. Those front-wheel drive only competitors are going to be a little bit tighter. I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself. I still have I'd say maybe like 3 to 4 inches of legroom to spare back there, so it definitely works. Like I said, the only tight thing is headroom is the problem, where again, only being 5'9", I mean, if I was 6 feet tall, I feel like I'd kind of be you know, a little bit cramped back there as far as headroom goes. So that's a little bit unfortunate. It also might possibly be because of this panoramic moonroof. Maybe you lose a little bit of headroom headroom with that, I'm not sure, but just an interesting thing to note there. Also here in this Activ trim, you do have to get it as an upgrade, but you can get that fold down center armrest here in the Actives, which is nice to have that with 2 cup holders put into it. When you look forward, unfortunately you don't have any dedicated air vents back there, but that is pretty rare for this segment. But what this does do very well is you have tons of power outlets. You have a USB jack, another USB-C jack, and a normal house current plug. So I mean, that's more than I think any of the other competing subcompact crossovers. Some don't have any hookups back there. The very best have 2 USB jacks. This has that plus a power outlet. So backseat passengers, as long as they're not too big, will love sitting back here because they'll have all their stuff charged up and ready to go. So that's great. There's also little bottle holders there in those doors as well. Trunk space here in the Trailblazer is on par for this type of vehicle. You know, it's not going to be super roomy because it's just a small little crossover, but I'd say it's a pretty good amount of space still. I mean, you know, nice long and wide space. And the nice thing that I like about it is that the floor can drop down. So you can have it so it's totally flat with the opening if you want, or you can drop that whole floor down and give yourself a couple inches of extra depth there if you'd like. And so that's great. Also, when you lift up that cover, you'll see there's a little spare tire there. And so overall, you know, it's, I'd say, one of the better ones in this segment. And if you want more space, you just have to go up to a bigger vehicle, because none of the other vehicles in this segment are going to have massive amounts of space back there, but it should be totally usable for most stuff. But yes, that's all our thoughts here on the interior of the Trailblazer. Overall, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, it's nice, but you know, you have some things that could need improvement. Yeah,
and I think it kind of goes back to how GM prices their vehicles. At $32,000, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know, they love advertising 15% off MSRP and stuff. So depending on the deal that you get on the Trailblazer, it could be a better value or it could be a not good value. At $32,000, I don't think it's a good value. If you're well under 30, I think it could be a pretty solid value. And you can go watch my driving review where I'll talk more about the pricing if you're interested in hearing all about that and how it drives. Anyway, that's all our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts on the Trailblazer in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.